Hi, this is Steve Lentini, and I'm your host for the podcast Different Thinking for Different Times, Season 3, Episode 25. Here's a quote from Ernest Holmes, and I quote, "I believe that the relationship between God and man, between the infinite and the finite, is a direct one, and that the avenue through which the mind of God expresses to the mind of man is through the mind of man himself." So that's something to consider. I always say, prove what I'm saying to yourself. Don't take my word for it, and imagine what expresses through the mind of a small minded thinker. Small minded thinkers believe what they see. And so, as more begins to manifest, that's the infinite expressing itself through a small minded thinker, they just continue to get more to reinforce the belief of what they're seeing. They believe from the outside in. So the limitless infinite thinker manages their acorn brain, their small-minded thinker, and they manage those thoughts and express in the infinite. They overcome small-minded judgments. They're not railing against people on social media or telling lies like partisan politicians just to enroll people in their idea that it's the right way. And when we make ourselves right, of course, we're making others wrong. And instead of learning to negotiate, all relationships are a negotiation. That's all it is. Not going to change people's mind by railing against them on Twitter or Facebook or and remember that when you're angry and you're expressing yourself angrily because someone thinks differently, that's small-minded. You're just going to continue to get more of that expressing through you. The infinite is impersonal. It's giving you what you want. So the small-minded thinker keeps seeing and believing, because they believe what they see, a small-minded view of the world, and they just get more and more of that to reinforce their beliefs. After all, they think they're right. The infinite thinker, the limitless thinker, overcomes all those small-minded judgments, and you have to take my word for it, but they do not exist when we leave our body. Nothing from this acorn brain went with me the day that I passed away in intensive care. Immediately, I had a presence without my body and a knowing I was one with everything and nothing. I was one with the infinite thinker, the infinite creator, the divine, the creation, I call it, God, whatever you want to call it. It's totally impersonal, giving you what you focus on, what you desire most in this existence. And if you're not managing your acorn brain, if you're stuck focusing on how you're less than someone or you're more than someone else, or you're focusing on racial differences, political differences, differences at work, differences with family, all you're doing is expanding that and getting more of it. And it's small-minded. The infinite, where the infinite resides, where the creation itself, the life force resides, there were no judgments, no sexes, no races, no politics. In fact, no accomplishments or anything material. Nothing from the outside of my life was mentioned. All things that I thought previously, before that day, gave me value. After November 18th, 2002, none of that meant anything. I realized my power for living from the inside out, that I had to decide to be happy and things would occur around that decision. I would decide to be satisfied. I would let people have all their opinions because, after all, my job is me. And for me, the bigger issue to deal with, and I think that's my job since I had that experience, is to help people understand that that's our work to do here overcome small-minded thinking. And we can see how it has let current society descend into pettiness. Our political leaders even model poor behavior, pettiness, lying. And that's both sides. They just tell the story that they want you to hear without regard for the facts. The news media, journalists, I mean, it's even apparently being taught in Journalism 101 that disregard the facts, just report things that fit with your narrative. It's easy to spot small-minded thinking, and yet we don't want to see it in ourselves. We're ready to define small-minded thinking in others if they disagree with us. Your only job here is manage you. Other people's journeys are none of your business. Now, if you want to make a difference in the world, think about how you feel when you do good. And that was the next thing that occurred in my near-death experience. Was my life review only flashed before me the good I had done, all the lives I had touched. Think about that. Now, you're going to have to wait until the day you die, and I hope it's not before this podcast ends or after it ends or not for a very, very long time. I wish everyone a very, very long life. And getting that glimpse of what's next changed my life forever. And all I can do is report on it and tell you again what I learned, that we leave our body and have a consciousness. We immediately know we're one with the infinite, one with everything and nothing, and that nothing small-minded resides there. In fact, you don't even have it flash before you that you were one race or one sex. None of that is there. And only in the now did the divine reside. I did not have a past or a present, or a future there, only the present on steroids. I couldn't even tie the events together until I got back in my body. It was a now and a now and a now. So that's where the divine resides, but you have to prove that to yourself. And even the things that bother us, they're in perfect order because they're there to guide us and teach us and change us. The people that bug us, we want to rail against them. Let's say you're intolerant to someone who has a different political view than you, and you find all the reasons why. Well, you are, if you're accusing them of intolerance somewhere, they're just showing you your own intolerance, your own small-minded thinking, rejecting people for the same reasons that you're rejecting others. And so it's something to consider and prove to yourself. Do good. Leave everything and everyone that you find a little better than you find them, because you know not when the moment will come. Are you at peace with your family and your loved ones? Are you making a difference in your neighborhood and in your world if you can by doing good? Are you donating to food banks, or are you helping at food banks? If elections are your concern, are you working as an election worker? Are you going to do what you can do? With the view, though, not to make others wrong, and that you're 100% right, whatever stand you have, because you can see the insanity of it. We don't have to look far. And what we've missed is what we're here to do, which is to help each other, to negotiate and understand how people and why people think a certain way. And perhaps it may change some of your own stance, and to see your own small-minded intolerance wherever it is. As I said, there were no sexual preferences, no sexes. It didn't matter to the infinite what your race was, what my race was, what I did in life, what I thought had value, what I accomplished, except the good, the lives I had touched, the family members I had helped and loved, the friends and neighbors I had helped and loved, and the strangers I had helped and loved. Even if it was buying a sandwich or stuffing a few bucks in somebody's cup without regard for what they do with it or what got them there, because their journey is their business. And I always understood that. I did let certain people make me wrong for it. If they were with me on the street and I'd give someone money, they'd say, "You're not going to give them money, are you? Or why did you do that?" I don't live in that space at all anymore, because I know how powerful doing good is, and that it's not my job to judge. But why did they come across my radar? Why did they enter my universe? If not as a test, will I help them? Or instead of a test, how about I was given an opportunity to serve the creation, to serve the creator? This is all stuff you have to prove to yourself, but consider it. Consider if you're a small-minded thinker in any area, if you're judging others, that's just bringing you more to be small-minded about. If that's how the universe works, if it's responding to the thinker in whatever way the thinker thinks. Think about it. Experiment with overcoming your small-minded thinker, because we all have it. There's no one that doesn't. That's why I wrote the book, You May Be Full of Shit If, and said I was in many places. And it's just to find that place in life where you recognize it and work to overcome it and have a sense of humor about yourself and others. There's no one perfect in this world. That might be small-minded thinking you're perfect or you're better than anyone. And imagine what that small-minded thinking continues to express and how it expresses itself in your life, because that's how the infinite works. But don't take my word for it. Prove it to yourself. Now, if you'd like to support my podcast, you can. You can look at donate to support my work. If you think it has value, if you don't, that's okay too. Your journey is yours, and it's none of my business. I'm grateful if you would support my work. And if you have questions or you want to come on the podcast, you want to debate me, steve@stevelentini.com, steve@stevelentini.com. If you want to share your own near-death experience, because all our journeys are different. Even the near-death experiences are different if you've studied any of them. I'm grateful to have had mine. I would do it all over again if I'm as stuck in the next life as I was in this one until I was 50. I'd invite a huge awakening. In fact, after that, I wrote the book, Wake Up, Jump Into Your Life. So don't spend any time in small-minded thinking unless you want to. Again, you have to prove the value of expanding into limitless, infinite thinking. You have to prove that to yourself. Thanks.